Kia ora. Good evening. Well, it's so exciting, like to be here and see like the you guys coming, like and check like the session. Um, it's just like the beginning, really, of this journey. I reckon is that like this group is gonna grow, and we all gonna take like part of that, and that's my hope and what I wish like for the this user group. And I know that if you are here, it's because like you're a developer, you have like interests in learning, like to development. And I'm just like waiting, like maybe more people will join. But it feels like just like a big milestone, really. When I look at the current market, right? So um, I'm from Auckland, and I see that there is a huge opportunity, like on the development space where we get to see and share like our experiences with the Microsoft stack. That's the main focus of this group. And but I think like my hope is that people would feel like excited about as well, like on this journey, because this group has a potential to bring like and define how software development is done in New Zealand. I reckon like that's how I see us in here. Like, and for those that don't know me, my name is Marcel Medina. I'm a I'm a software developer. I've been here in New Zealand for the past 13 years, working in consulting and currently in the product space. Um, on this particular session today, I wanted to bring like some awareness of software development practices because I feel that companies focus different companies, right? Focusing more like the technology stacks, while you have like best practices and design patterns that we could we should be studying. And I think like us as developers, we should be always exploring things on our own time. So that's why we have like this user group, Coding Night, right? Who would be like online at this time just to just to talk? You know, like I feel like as a developer, we would just be coding, right? If you have a family in general, well, like me, after your kids go to bed, that's when you start like this your experimentation, and that's in general like what I do it. I brought like this topic, CQRS, because it's getting like more popular uh, within like I would say like with product development, even like consulting as well. I think this pattern just become some sort of standard on how things are being developed, right? On how solutions are created. You know, I would like to bring on the .NET space how we can achieve that. Right? So combine CQRS with Mediator. I'm gonna get like in details of what this the design pattern in the library is and how we can leverage that in .NET 6. Right? I guess like I'm also going to put like very quickly a poll just to understand who you are, right? Because I'd like to see um, where you are in your development career, right? Perhaps like you could just be recently uh, well graduated, or maybe like you are more like an intermediate or a senior developer or a lead or an architect. I reckon like there's it's always like you should be curious, right? And if you even if you are like an architect or like a grad, you should continue study. Right? And that's what I'd like to bring. Today, I'm the speaker, but maybe like next time, it could be you, right? I would like to invite the group to come forward. If you have like a really cool context that you'd like to share, uh, please just feel free like to ping me. So right now I can see we are 9 to 10 people. I can see the chat. Yeah, familiar names. I can definitely see. And if I don't know you yet, I guess like we're gonna get to know very soon. Let me just go like to the next slide. So as I said, right, so my name's Marcel Medina. I'm a software developer and also like an Azure specialist. I've been working consulting my entire career, and I focused on Microsoft stack, right? And I focus on like certifications, and currently I'm an Azure architect as well. I'm a Microsoft trainer, so I like education and educating people. Right? And I'm also like a playground enthusiast encoder. I put there like because not sure if you're aware, but I'm also like a co-founder of the playgokids.com. So that's I would say it's just like a mobile app that my wife and I put in place just to help families with children to find playgrounds in New Zealand, and we have expanded that to different countries. It's really cool to see like how well plan for the weekends when you have kids, right? And so my kids love it. Yeah, so I'd like to invite you to check that one. I'm a current lead developer on my food bag. So in there, like if you make your orders and you like food, like me, and so I decided to join them. Not only because like of the context of what they provide, but because they're doing like really cool stuff in the tech space. So in there, like I help like developers just like on their career paths and also like from the technical stack. My blog is on tech.playgokids.com. That's where I share my thoughts and my experimentations. Yeah, just going like on the user group. I I picked like the same like definition that I put like on the meetup, and I wanted to highlight some words because I think that summarize what uh, would be trying to achieve in here, right? And incentivize people. Right? So we're a community group of developers, right? That love coding and follow best practices right, on software development languages and technologies. It's mainly focused on the Microsoft stack. I highlight like developers or people interested like becoming developers as well. This group is not limited to only developers at all. And love coding. So we're here at night to see something new, to learn something new. Right? So I guess you definitely love coding. That's why you're here. You follow best practices because always need to consider the context of where the solutions are with like the architecture, with design, following practices in how to apply onto like development. One thing depends, well, you cannot simply start coding without that consideration. I think like when you're young on this journey, you tend to do that, but like further down the line, when you're more like senior, you start like thinking before you start coding. And I think that sort of awareness I'd like to bring on this group. And so the intent of this group to enable developers with practical knowledge to excel and launch their careers. Right. Um, I feel it's like there's a little bit like of mentoring on that because I guess like we can learn from each other, from the different experiences, because we always have like something new to bring. Like we're always exploring or at work having like different challenges, and perhaps those challenges can be useful to others. And then I feel like it's good to share, right? Because you help others, you kind of like by helping others, you also learn with the, or you consolidate your knowledge by teaching. And with that, like, so this is not, well, I would say, because we're gonna aim like for to enable developers, I think as a consequence, like people are going to get better understanding of best practices. And with that, you're gonna launch your career. I think it's just like a natural transition if you follow like good practices. That's our user group. And the agenda, I had put like some animation here, but because I uploaded like to the platform, I don't see like any bubbles in here. But uh, basically, what we're gonna do in here, right? We're gonna check what CQRS is, pros and cons, when to use, right? And what would be like the challenges with that? What's Mediator and why we're using Mediator as well, right? Because like one thing enables the other to work well on .NET. In the demo, right? Um, I know like that we're gonna be spending in general, well, up to an hour. I think like it depending on the topic, well, and depending like the number of demos. Sometimes we can just go a little bit beyond, but that's I'm aiming like for 30 minutes to 1 hour tops, right? Because as soon as you get to see how things work and bring some context, you can just like start exploring by yourself after this meeting, right? So uh, if you like coding, you're just gonna continue on that. Yeah, I'm gonna just put like a poll on the chat in here just to see where you are. And I'm just putting here, I'm gonna put like a question. We're just creating a poll on YouTube. Where are you? Let me see if I can change where you in your development journey. Okay, just put like some options in here. But I'm just gonna ask like, where are you in your development journey? Uh, well, apparently I can put more than 4 options in here, but let me put like just a minute. Interesting. Well, I'm gonna put like the poll, so it should be coming soon. I couldn't put like more than 4 options, but yeah, let's just see. Maybe like you don't necessarily fit on that, but yeah, I'd like to see where you are or what you would consider yourself, right? And just continue on and starting on the topic, right? So what's like CQRS? It stands for Command and Query Responsibility Segregation. It's a design pattern that separates the read and update operations for a particular data store. Right? I put like those two big, I would say topics, but the two main features I would say, in my view, is that by adopting CQRS, what your concerns are around how you split those concerns, right? And how you get to create like your solution in a way that you define a path for read operations and update operations, right? So you're not like stepping on each other's shoes. You're just making like that separate the segregation really. And if you consider solid, I would say like that would be like the single responsibility. It kind of comes down to that. Um, but it's still like you specifically for read operations with the update operations, depending on how you implement, sometimes you do it, you're doing like create or update operations, but you could do like a solid on this one, in particular like the single responsibility principle on that. But that's mainly it, right? Like for loads architecture where you're thinking about like scaling your solution, right? It's always a combination of like defining the architecture of your solution and how the technology is going to allow you to implement that. And you do it like a CQRS, a design pattern for that. And also for in there like says for a data store, it's a generic term because well, it could be like a database, could be like well, anything where you store like and save information, right? Because like in here, I'm gonna show that we're gonna be dealing with a database, but it could be like something else, right? You could be dealing with event sourcing. That's a really advanced topic, but that that's why it's on purpose. That's like it's for a particular data store. And there's another bubble in there where we have like this scalability, because if you are segregating or separating read operations from update operations, you can also dictate how your flow works and where that information is going to be stored, right? Let me just go to an example. I think that becomes clear with like an explanation. So in here, like I just put in, like if you're coming like to for the first time, like on CQRS, you're going to start like this, where you have like your client, could be like when I say client, anything that's making like a request, right? And you're gonna have that separation of concerns from at the operation level, but in how also you handle uh, well the different parts of the how you query, how you perform your command execution, because like even that you have decoupling of what would be an object that represents a command from an object that executes. That's called a handler. And in here we have like a single database, a single data store, where we perform a read and write operations. If you think about like scale, and in general, like we're going to end up with more read operations than write operations. So if you want to scale the database to be like have like better performance, right? If that's one of the non-functional requirements, you could just split the database, and you could like kind of have two stores, one for read and another one for write operations. In here, like I would say to start, it would just be like adopting um, the design pattern, and your main concern on this particular uh, use of the pattern would be by separation of concerns. Right? So you're just enabling your code to do like to scale. Right? If you're expecting that sort of behavior of your solution. I think that would be like the initial part of the on how you define like your design. And going forward, you would like if you wanted to go like into like implement that sort of scaling at the data store level. So you could work with like in here I'm using like a database. You could have like your primary and your replica, right? So things like where would be read only, you could just take like the replica for that, and you could create like different instances of their replica, right? Because you want to scale up like the operations. That's where like the main uh, consumption from your model, your API, your clients uh, are going to have. Like, so they're gonna be making like lots of read only operations. And when you perform like changes, then you would be pushing like to the primary. There are some challenges with this model, specifically, for example, if your client you are updating an information, and at the same time you want to retrieve that information, there could be like a delay, a replica between the primary and the replica. And how do you do it? Right? So that's kind of like there's a terminology for that. It's called eventual consistency, because there could be a delay in there. And if you have like a browser where you're performing an update, and at the same time you want to retrieve the latest, right? Um, Considering that you have that sort of delay, or you need to work and try minimizing that first. But in cases where that it's significant, you have like a I would say link or connection delays. There are different techniques for that. I reckon like for this one, I don't have like the diagram, but I like just to bring like some awareness to you that that could be like one of the challenges, because you could do like an immediate uh, update and a retrieval from the primary. You could do that if like that information is critical to be available. You could do like make the client to perform the requests and do the updates, but then you could just make the client to wait for them to query back the replica. Not great, because you still need to be querying like your API to grab that information, although you could smooth things on your client, right? I'm just putting my hands in here, but like the clients in the back end. Or you could do also like use WebSockets. So your client would just push the information. And then the server using WebSockets, you could just push the information to the client. That would be like really clever way of doing that, right? There's another way where you could make the request from the client, but the client where like things wait like on the server until you retrieve the information from the replica and then comes back. Not great, but yeah, those are the challenges. I reckon like for you, just bring this awareness because it's one of important considerations, yeah, with this model. But nothing stops you from going that using like the design pattern at the first place, right? If you're still using like a single DB. I'm using DB. I mentioned like we could be event sourcing. It could be even like a sync operations where you have like queues to do things. Right? So that would be like a advanced. I think like this one definitely requires another session to discuss only about that. But I'd like to pause in here only on that because I reckon you kind of have like a by now an idea of how things should work. The thing I'm not seeing like the questions in here. Let me just see in here. Let me just check some minutes. So there's a question here from Minju. She said like weights, using threads, weights. Well, maybe like you were asking about the time where you would be on the server side to wait for the answer, like for the replica to happen, right? Well, I'm not like into like the details. Using thread weights, yeah, that's not great. You would just be kind of holding this thread in there, even like, yeah, it could be, but like that wouldn't be ideal. I think like there are challenges with that as well, and that requires like a little bit of exploring to see if that would be suitable. Perhaps like not like in the web context, but it could be like on a back-end operation where you have a worker service. Then like I think about using that sort of approach with threads and weights, even it's async, there could be like a scenario where you could leverage. I think from the web space, definitely you need to use like sockets. You wouldn't need like to be informed from the backend that the UI, the information is ready, and it just like would appear like in front of your browser. Thanks for asking. In general, I kind of gonna be between the presentation and the chat. Thanks, Minju. Continue here. And then we have like what's Mediator, right? So Mediator is well, there's the mediator, the pattern. There is the mediator, the library. So the mediator as the pattern itself, that's what's written there. It defines an object, how like you like encapsulates how the objects interact. So we have like a man in the middle in there to help like the objects to interact, right? But like the mediator library, the library was created by Jimmy Bogar. It's a very common, useful library for decoupling dependencies, right? So we have like one of the bubbles in there. So we use it like for decoupling dependencies on the command and the handler specifically. Right? You have like this concept of notification with like pub and subs, in where basically you're gonna publish a message, and if you have subscribers, those are gonna be triggered, right? So the library allows you to do that. It also allows you to do pipelines. So with pipelines, I'm gonna put like the demo. I'm not explaining pipelines. Pipelines is gonna be a topic for the next user group where we have the fluent validation. I put like another meetup because that's where I'm gonna explore the how we could do logging validation with pipelines. I think that's enough in terms of context. I would like just to jump like to a demo because that's where like well, you always need to combine context with like the code, right? And but if I jump in here and share my screen, there's a question here from Sinan, if I'm pronounced correctly, Sinan. Is a mediator become the single point of failure in this design? Well, I wouldn't say the single point of failure. Well, if you have like if you're not using mediator itself, right? You are you're gonna be relying like if you're creating a web API, you'll be creating like a controller to call your commands or your query handler. You need to work on how to do that sort of separation. The mediator itself is just a library that we're using to enable the objects to talk to each other by allowing decoupling, right? The dependency, decoupling the dependency. And so I don't think like would be like single point of failure, but it's just because like it's the library itself that we're using, right? Perhaps like I answer that, but yeah, good question. Thanks for asking, Sina. Let me share my screen here. Um, just bring have this in here. Yep, I think you guys can see it now. But this is the solution. I have like two monitors, so kind of be looking towards this one because that's where my screen is. So on the solution here is just like a sample where we have an API, right? Which is basically a web API that was created on .NET 6. You can see here. I'm leveraging the Mediator library, NuGet library, with the, let me maybe come to that. Um, with an extension, specific extension for dependency injection. I leverage the out-of-the-box web API on Visual Studio 2022. And with that comes, I use like the container as well. Because like, yeah, that's kind of always, if you're adopting that sort of approach, so you have that, it's embedded within the sample. And, Swagger, right? Swashbuckle. Right? And by looking here, I'm using, because it's .NET 6, so I use like minimal APIs to do that. Maybe if I zoom in a little bit. And by looking here, we have like, well, that's basically the boilerplate, what comes. I only include like this one, the add product module. I'm using like the Microsoft dependency injection container for that, which leverages the service collection. In this one, if I jump in there, I'm gonna dive onto that. But you can see that this is a service collection that implement like the mediator. Right? And whatever, what I'm saying here, whatever belongs is within this assembly, within the product module, everything that implements the, well, there's like a mediator has our requests and request handlers. Everything that's a mediator interface, hook that up. That's what I'm doing. And so mediator comes in here like to bridge that sort of communication, right? If you look now like at the controller, because the controller itself, it's a web API, that's where the requests are gonna come. And when you look in here, we're gonna see, yeah, we got get HTTP verb, well, true actually, one for products, to get like all products. I just put like as a product list as an example. We have like a post, put, a delete. I put like a notify in here. So we have that sort of notification, pub sub happening, just as an example. If you look at like, by the way, let me just share the link because you can definitely see this one by yourself. That's the link. So that's the page in here. I'm gonna put like on the chat. You can have a look later. There's a question from Sinan. Let's see this one. Actually, after I asked, I realized it's not going to be an external service. It's just a library. So that's all right. Yep, that's basically it. Yep. No worries at all. And so I share like the article. The article has the link to the repository, so you can make use of this example for your studies. But look at here. Let's go like with the get. Here like working. I reckon like it's better. I'm gonna open like the second project, which is just like a library, and you're gonna see here that, well, I basically have like a DTO. If you're not familiar with DTOs, that's a data transfer object. They use like if you have like a way of transitioning information between layers of your solution. And yeah, that's a very simple product DTO where we have a name SKU. SKU is like a product, internal product name, right? Like that, just a code basically. Put like a quantity, data created, data modified. I'm using like for the sake of this demo, I put in like only a single DTO. But one of the things with like CQRS is that you can make as many DTOs as you want, and you can fine grain that to the specifics, right? Like you could just have an object, part of your object to be updated, right? So you wouldn't need to provide all of that information. So you could segregate that to fewer properties, right? Um, yeah, I reckon like I have one DTO. You could have multiple to do similar things, right? Depending on what you think, the information you want to update. If I come back to the controller, then this is the glue, like, or that's the mediator working. So you can see here that I have my query, right? CQRS, command query. The query is implemented on these objects, right? This one is a get all. So these are get products, singular. Get products on a plural. We have like a command. So you can see here, product command. I'm doing both operations. If you want to have like single responsibility, you could even have like an add command, an update command, to make sure that it does like only one thing. Here I'm combining that. But we have segregation between commands and query. I reckon like if you look in here, like you can explore more details. One of the things that I'm bringing here is that well, we can create a product and we can notify consumers. That's one of the features of Mediator that it allows you to, if you have subscribers, whatever happens in here, you're going to be notified. So you could have logging, right? Although logging, you wouldn't do like with like a pub sub. There's pipeline. Right? Pipeline is a much better implementation for logging, right? But whatever is listening to this specific uh, uh, command on creation would be notified. And one of the tips and tricks that I suggest you do, I'm gonna jump onto this get product query, right? You could be splitting the different classes, but you can see here I have the request and the request handler, right? So, well, that's my object, what I'm getting here, like well, in this case, it's just like a property, just a SKU. I don't need a DTO for that. I just need like a property. But I have the handler. If I only had my query here, if I didn't have my handler, I think it would become really difficult for you to visualize where it is. And so it's, I would say as a tip, you can just put like your handler underneath your implementation of your query or your command on the request, and that gets together and you can visualize what's happening. So on this one, right? So what you're saying, basically saying is that my request returns a product DTO. That's the return. I'm specifying the type, and that's how Mediator identifies, how it glues things together, because he understands in here that we're going to have like a product DTO. Uh, and the other thing, not this one. I was on this one. And I have my handler. So my handler, I'm gonna receive a product. Oh, sorry. Get product query, which is this one, and return the product DTO. So one combined to the other. The handler executes, and the query that's like the request that returns like to the controller. But in here you can see like by implementing the request handler, I have the handle. Right? And the handle is gonna do well, this one is a query. I'm just querying on my products, which one is the first or default that matches this queue that's coming. If it's nullable, I'm raising an exception. There are more elegant ways of handling exception. And we can do that with pipelines as well, and by leveraging a global handler on .NET 6. I'm gonna do it not today, but on the Fluent validation, there's a way of doing that. So if you come like to the next session, I can explain more details. But this one, because it's going to raise an exception, it's gonna blow your API. You're gonna get like a lot of garbage, you know, as a result. And that's not how you implement production ready. The next week, where we're gonna have like a more aligned implementation. But that's an example of the query, and let's put like an example with the command, right? Well, with decoration. So if I come in here, I'm gonna dive into that. This is receiving a product DTO. It's gonna drill down to that. Similar thing, my command I'm receiving the product DTO. This one is gonna return a boolean, right? And what it's doing is just like, okay, do I have the object available, right, based on the SKU? Yes. If I have it, so I'm updating. If I don't have it, then I create. I'm using like a product in memory. So when you look in here, like it's just hard coded for, that's my data store, right? Eh, but yeah, I have milk, coffee, toast, butter. I was definitely thinking about breakfast when I put that together. Eh, just as an example. And so that's like my in-memory object. And within the commands in here, I had like my notification, right, where my publisher. Let me dive into that. You can see here like that a Mediator interface for that called iNotification. And I put like two examples, right, because that's just a way of getting notified. If I'm calling publish, that's how things are going to be triggered. And I put like two subscribers, right? Publish notify message handler. I put like here together for the sake of the demo, but I have like the text handler. We're gonna see that what it does is that like, okay, I'm handling, what I'm gonna do, just write a message with well, the word message with the message that's happening. Otherwise in here, like another text, just the word text. You're gonna see this one clear when I run. Uh, this is like by looking at these projects, right? So that's a very simple implementation leveraging the CQRS with Mediator, really modern approach, you know, like on how to do things on .NET 6. I reckon like it's not only .NET 6, right? But that there's like this journey of when like the libraries came up and where we are now. So yeah, with minimal APIs, and I think things got like easier on the .NET space. Right? Let's just run so you can see how it works. So because it, like this is an API, it's basically I have like a Swagger UI. Let's just opening my another screen, but I'm gonna bring two things here: the browser and the commands. Right? Right now I'm running locally, like if you're on a Docker, you could do it. I just played like from Visual Studio, but if you there's like the Docker files in there, so you could leverage your Docker on your desktop to do the same thing. Uh, let's see, like if I want to grab products, right? I want to grab like everything. Let's just try it out. It returns all of the products I have. I don't have any notification of the products. Nothing happening here. Right? So there's no pub sub in there. But CQRS was there. So the mediator did like the job and used like the query model for that. If I was to include a new product, let me try it out. I could make like this one smarter. I wouldn't need to provide an ID, nothing like that. Right? What do you like for breakfast? What do you put like on your toast? Oh, I like Marmite as well. Like in here, Marmite. I just going like the flow. I wouldn't need to specify any of this. That could be like a backend or during the commands, I could just deal with dates automatically, even like the IDs. I could have only this information required, but because I have like my single DTO, it is what it is. But just keep an eye now because I don't think I'm gonna be able to pull like both together, but I'm gonna execute and now you don't see anything. But as soon as I do it, right, go like 200 and you can see that there was a pub sub. It happened, right? The message. So the only thing that's going to change here is just the label, right? The word message and text. So I had two subscribers. I could take like actions from that after my command has executed, right? And that's basically it. That's like the demo. I reckon you could grab it, grab the solution, play yourself, like play like the solution, modify it. You could create like different DTOs, right? Um, I like the part of the solution where you're defining the skeleton. I really like it. Like I think like one of the things I like about starting like new projects that pulling that sort of skeleton where you're combining libraries and you're getting things like to work. That's how you make what you learn with it. And then like the other part that's it's really cool. It's when you get to code and apply best practices, right? On how to make queries and how you deal with well, even like challenges or coding challenges, right? On particular or reuse of components. I think that's also really great in applying always solid principles. That's key for that. In terms of the demo, that's what I have in. I think like we're 48 minutes down the line. Journey is gonna be like that, um, 30 to 45 minutes. If you have like questions, we stretch like to 1 hour. Um, that's that's pretty much it. Um, if you guys have like the questions, just feel free like to ping me like or maybe now on the chat or maybe later. By you can reach me on the blog. You can push like send me an email. I'm also like on the meetup. So just feel free really to ping me if you have like some interesting content like to share or would like to share. Let's just see the poll. I don't know if you guys got to that. Uh, let me see. Let me see. Well, maybe I can share my screen, another screen. Not sure if I'm gonna get it. Well, that should be coming here. So we have like a combination of well 9 volts, like grads, like more like kind of a balance between intermediates to lead devs or architects, right? Like it's more like a um, advanced career path and knowledge and experience. That's really cool. Yeah, I really like seeing that. just to understand like so we have definitely opportunities in here like to get people to help and contribute. Thanks for sharing that. I'm gonna end the poll in here. Let me see if there are like more questions in just a minute. Hobby project hobby projects are so satisfying because you can just experiment. Yes, I agree, 100%. That's a good way of learning. Enjoy. Let's see, we have Sinan. We can write our own Mediator library in the next session. Well, that's yeah, I would say that yes. I think like depending on how like uh, you would feel, you could like definitely come like and help on that. Like I'm just inviting you like to help, right? Because that would be like a good scenario for others to learn. I think like I would like to bring the fluent validation on the next topic on the next session because in there I'm gonna bring pipelines and that like becomes a little bit more like advanced, but at least like it's going to bring you like I mean like everyone uh, what else you can do it right with another library and to help you creating solutions, right? And I think like yeah, if you guys don't have any other questions, I think like we're good, and you can definitely jump like to your the next time, well, the next hour where you're going to start coding or exploring, right? The night the night continues, I'd say. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for coming. And I put like in general we're gonna keep these sessions every couple of weeks. I reckon like I definitely have like some good content to keep us going for some time. And I'm gonna bring like basically part of my experience and share what I have learned and actually like enabling really you guys to be like in a better position next time you are engaged in doing something new or modernize applications. So you could like suggest and or if not drive conversations because now you have knowledge about it, right? And or even like question people that are introducing that. Yeah, I'm seeing like the chats in here. Yeah, definitely. Sinan, yeah, contribute with content too. Yeah, that's definitely the key thing in here. Definitely want like people to continue on that. It's not only me. I bring in like what I know, but I'd like to know like what you guys also know. Yeah, cool. Thank you guys. Um, appreciate that. Let's keep in touch with like a meetup on LinkedIn as well. We have like a group in there where, um, well, it, it's called like the same, called like Coding Nights. I'm gonna share as well on the chat because then you can join in there and see what's going on. Let me just quickly grabbing here the link, and you could join there, right? Yeah. And put like another link. Yeah. Cool. Cheers. Have a good night, and we catch up soon again. See you later.